The emergency room at Camby General Hospital was having its usual busy afternoon. The waiting area had the typical mix of people, some reading old magazines, others scrolling on their phones, and a few trying to sleep in the uncomfortable plastic chairs. Behind the front desk, Nurse Sarah Chen was finishing up some paperwork when she heard the automatic doors slide open. The sound of small feet shuffling across the floor made her look up. What she saw made her put down her pen right away. A little girl, no more than 7 years old, was standing there all alone. Her dark hair was in messy braids, and her pink backpack had a big tear on one side. She was crying, but trying to be quiet about it. Sarah had worked in the ER for 12 years, and something about this scene made her instincts kick in right away. The girl's clothes were clean but wrinkled, like she'd been wearing them for too long. Her shoes showed signs of a long walk, dusty and scuffed at the toes. But it was the look in her eyes that worried Sarah the most. It was a look she'd seen before, and it never meant anything good. "Hi there, sweetheart," Sarah said, coming around from behind the desk. She moved slowly and kept her voice gentle, not wanting to frighten the child more than she already was. "I'm Nurse Sarah. Can you tell me your name?" The little girl hugged her backpack tighter to her chest. "Emma," she whispered, her voice barely louder than a breath. "Emma Martinez." Sarah knelt down to Emma's eye level, keeping a comfortable distance. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed softly as other patients and staff moved around them, but Sarah kept her focus entirely on Emma. "That's a beautiful name, Emma. Can you tell me what brings you to the hospital today?" Emma's lower lip trembled. She looked over her shoulder at the automatic doors, then back at Sarah. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she spoke two words that made Sarah's heart skip a beat. "He's coming." Those two simple words set off every alarm bell in Sarah's experienced mind. She noticed how Emma's hands were shaking, how she kept glancing at the entrance, how she seemed to make herself smaller with each passing second. Sarah had seen these signs before, too many times in her career. Without making any sudden movements, Sarah pressed the silent security alert button under the desk. It was a subtle motion, one that wouldn't frighten Emma but would bring help quickly. "You're very brave to come here, Emma. Would you like to sit somewhere quiet with me? We have a special room with some coloring books and snacks." Emma nodded, clutching her backpack like it was a shield. Sarah noticed a small teddy bear keychain dangling from one of the zippers, a tiny bit of comfort in what was clearly a frightening situation. As they walked to the private consultation room, Sarah discreetly signaled to her colleague, Jenny, to call 911. The hospital had procedures for situations like this, and every staff member knew them by heart. Security guards casually moved into position near the ER entrance, appearing relaxed but ready. The consultation room was painted in soft colors, with cheerful pictures on the walls and a small table just the right height for children. Sarah helped Emma into a comfortable chair and brought her a juice box and some crackers. "You know what, Emma? I love to color while I talk. Would you like to color with me?" Emma's hands were still shaking as she took the offered crayon, but her breathing had started to steady. Sarah noticed that despite her obvious fear, there was also determination in the way Emma held herself. This was a child who had made a difficult decision to ask for help. "My teacher," Emma started, her voice a little stronger now, "Miss Thompson. She told us about safe places. She said hospitals and police stations are safe places." Sarah felt a surge of gratitude for teachers like Miss Thompson as she watched Emma carefully color inside the lines of a butterfly picture. "Your teacher is very smart, Emma. You did exactly the right thing by coming here. Can you tell me about who's coming?" "Take your time, you're safe here with me." The clock on the wall ticked steadily as Emma gathered her courage. Outside the room, Sarah knew that help was already on the way, but right now, her entire world was focused on making sure this brave little girl knew she wasn't alone anymore. Sarah watched as Emma's small hands gripped the blue crayon tighter. The little girl had started drawing what looked like a house, but her lines were shaky. Through the consultation room's window, Sarah could see her colleague Jenny talking to the police on the phone, giving them silent thumbs up to show they were on their way. "Emma, sweetheart," Sarah said softly, picking up a green crayon to color alongside her, "can you tell me how you got to the hospital today?" Emma's crayon paused on the paper. "I walked," she said quietly. "After school, Miss Thompson showed us on a map where the hospital was, in case we ever needed help." She looked up at Sarah with big brown eyes. "I remembered it was the big building with the blue H sign. Sarah felt her heart squeeze. The nearest elementary school was 3 miles away. This 7-year-old had walked all that distance by herself, probably taking back streets to avoid being seen. That was very smart of you to remember, Sarah said, keeping her voice steady despite her growing concern. Just then, there was a gentle knock at the door. Dr. James Rodriguez, the pediatric specialist on duty, poked his head in. He was wearing a friendly smile and a tie covered in cartoon dinosaurs. Hi there. I heard we have a special visitor. Is it okay if I join you both? Emma looked at Sarah first, seeking permission. When Sarah nodded encouragingly, Emma gave a small nod too. Dr. Rodriguez pulled up a chair, making sure to leave plenty of space between himself and Emma. He noticed her drawing and smiled. That's a wonderful house you're making. I like how you made the windows blue. While Dr. Rodriguez chatted with Emma about her artwork, Sarah quietly checked her phone. The police had texted. They were sending Detective Lisa Morgan, who specialized in cases involving children. She would be there in 10 minutes. Emma, Dr. Rodriguez said gently, Nurse Sarah tells me you walked a long way to get here. Are you feeling hungry or thirsty? We have some really good chocolate milk in our special fridge. Emma's eyes lit up slightly at the mention of chocolate milk, and Sarah quickly went to get some. When she returned, Emma was telling Dr. Rodriguez about her school's pet hamster, Squeaky. It was a good sign. She was starting to feel more comfortable. The chocolate milk was half gone when Detective Morgan arrived. She wasn't wearing a police uniform, just regular clothes, a purple sweater and black pants. Her badge was tucked away in her pocket. Hi, Emma, she said warmly. I'm Lisa. I heard you like to draw. Mind if I join your art session? Emma studied Lisa carefully while sipping her chocolate milk. After a moment, she pushed her red crayon toward the detective. Sarah noticed how Detective Morgan didn't rush to pick it up, letting Emma control the interaction. You know, Lisa said casually as she started coloring, I bet your mom might be worried about where you are. Would it be okay if we tried to call her? Emma's face crumpled slightly. Mommy's in the hospital too. Different hospital. She got sick and needed a big operation. Her voice got quieter. That's why I have to stay with Marcus. He's Mom's friend, but... She trailed off, her hand tightening around the crayon until her knuckles went white. Detective Morgan exchanged a quick look with Sarah and Dr. Rodriguez. Emma, Lisa said gently, you're being really brave. Can you tell us a little bit about Marcus? Emma's lower lip trembled. He was nice at first. He bought me ice cream and helped me with homework. But then, she looked down at her half-finished drawing. He started getting mad a lot. He said mean things about Mom, and yesterday, her voice dropped to a whisper. Yesterday he said when Mom gets better, we're all going to move far away where nobody can find us. Sarah saw Detective Morgan's expression change slightly. This was exactly why Emma had run to the hospital. She was afraid of being taken away. Emma, Lisa said, her voice firm but kind, I want you to know something very important. You did absolutely the right thing coming here. And I promise you, we're going to make sure you and your mom are safe. For the first time since she walked into the ER, Emma's shoulders relaxed just a little. Outside the consultation room, hospital security continued their quiet patrol, while in the distance, more police officers were already on their way to find Marcus before he could carry out his plan. Detective Morgan had seen many cases like this before, but something about Emma's quiet bravery touched her heart deeply. While Emma continued coloring, now working on a picture of a butterfly, Lisa sent quick texts to her team. They needed to locate Marcus before he realized Emma was missing from school. A soft knock on the door made Emma jump slightly. Sarah quickly stood up to check who it was. She returned with a kind-faced woman carrying a purple backpack. Emma, this is Ms. Rachel from the child support team. She brings special toys and games to kids at the hospital. Rachel sat down carefully, making sure not to crowd Emma. Hi Emma, would you like to see what I have in my magic backpack? She spoke with a gentle voice that reminded Emma of her favorite librarian at school. Emma nodded, curiosity temporarily overcoming her fear. Rachel unzipped her backpack and pulled out a soft, floppy-eared stuffed rabbit. This is Hoppy. Sometimes when kids are feeling scared or worried, Hoppy helps them tell their story. Would you like to hold him? Emma reached out slowly and took the rabbit, hugging it close to her chest. The rabbit's fur was incredibly soft, and it had a friendly face with kind button eyes. Detective Morgan noticed how Emma's breathing became calmer as she stroked the rabbit's ears. "Emma," Rachel said while pulling out some special drawing papers, "can you tell Hoppy about what happens at home when your mom is away? Hoppy is very good at listening." Looking at the stuffed rabbit instead of the adults made it easier for Emma to talk. "Marcus doesn't like it when I talk about Mom," she said quietly. "He says I'm too noisy. Yesterday he threw my photo of Mom in the trash." Her voice got even softer. "He said Mom doesn't want to come back home." Sarah felt her heart aching as she watched Emma curl up tighter in her chair. Detective Morgan was taking careful notes while trying to appear casual about it. "That must have made you very sad," Rachel said gently. "What did you do with the photo?" "I took it out of the trash when he wasn't looking. It's in my backpack now." Emma reached for her torn pink backpack and carefully pulled out a slightly crumpled photograph. It showed a smiling woman with the same dark hair as Emma, holding her daughter close at what looked like a birthday party. "Your mom has a beautiful smile," Rachel said warmly. "Just like yours. Can you tell Hoppy about the last time you visited your mom at the hospital?" Emma's face clouded over. "Marcus said we couldn't go anymore. He said she needed to rest, but I heard him on the phone." She squeezed Hoppy tighter. "He was telling someone that we had to leave town before Mom gets better. He said no one would find us." Detective Morgan and Rachel exchanged significant looks. This was escalating from a concerning situation to an urgent one. Lisa quietly stepped out of the room to make a call, while Rachel kept Emma engaged with some special colored markers that smelled like fruits. "Emma," Rachel said while they drew together, "you're being so brave. Can you tell us where you and Marcus live? Hoppy would really like to know." Emma hesitated, then spoke softly. "In the blue apartments near my school, apartment 4C, but," her voice trembled, "please don't let him know I told you. He said if I ever told anyone about the moving plans." "You're safe here, sweetheart," Sarah reassured her quickly. "Nobody is going to let Marcus know you told us anything." Just then, Detective Morgan returned with news that made her smile genuinely. "Emma, we found your mom's hospital. She's at Memorial Center, just 20 minutes away. Would you like to talk to her on the phone?" Emma's eyes lit up for the first time since she'd arrived, but then doubt crept back in. "Marcus checks the phone calls. He'll know." "Don't worry," Lisa said firmly. "We have a special phone he won't know about, and Emma." She waited until the little girl looked at her. "We're going to make sure you see your mom very soon." As Sarah dialed the number to Memorial Center, Emma held Hoppy close and whispered something in his floppy ear. Rachel could have sworn she saw a tiny smile starting to form on the brave little girl's face. The phone rang 3 times before a tired voice answered at Memorial Center. Detective Morgan had already briefed the staff there, so they were prepared for the call. "Hello, this is Maria Martinez's room," a nurse answered. "Mom." Emma's voice quivered as she held the phone with both hands. "Mommy, it's me." "Emma. Baby, is that you?" The voice on the other end suddenly became alert and worried. "Where are you? Are you okay?" Sarah watched as tears rolled down Emma's cheeks, but these were different from her earlier tears. "I'm at the hospital, Mom." "The other hospital. The nice nurses are helping me." She clutched Hoppy the rabbit closer with her free hand. While Emma talked to her mother, Detective Morgan stepped outside to coordinate with her team. 2 police cars were already parked quietly near the blue apartment building Emma had mentioned. They had spotted Marcus's red pickup truck in the parking lot, but were waiting for the right moment to approach. Back in the consultation room, Emma was telling her mother everything in a rush of words. About Marcus throwing away her photo, about his plans to take them away, about how scared she'd been. Maria's voice grew stronger with each revelation, her own fear turning into determination. "Listen to me, baby," Maria said firmly. "You did exactly the right thing. I'm so proud of you for being brave and getting help. The doctors say I can leave the hospital tomorrow, and I promise you, Marcus will never come near us again." Just then, one of the security guards signaled urgently to Detective Morgan through the window. She stepped out quickly, closing the door behind her. "He's here," the guard said quietly, "just pulled into the ER parking lot." Lisa's team had expected this. Marcus had probably gone to Emma's school when she didn't come out with the other children, and someone there might have mentioned seeing her walk in the direction of the hospital. "Keep him in the lobby," Detective Morgan instructed. "Do not let him pass the front desk." She turned to Sarah. We need to move Emma somewhere more secure. Sarah nodded and went back into the consultation room where Emma was finishing her call with her mother. I love you too, Mom, Emma was saying, her voice stronger than it had been all afternoon. Emma, Sarah said gently after the call ended, would you like to see where we keep all our special toys for kids? It's in a different room, one with a big TV and lots of games. Rachel quickly packed up the art supplies while Dr. Rodriguez appeared at the door. He had changed into scrubs now, no longer wearing his cheerful tie. I'll lead the way, he said casually, but his eyes were serious. They took a back route through the hospital, using corridors usually reserved for staff. Emma held onto Sarah's hand with her right hand and Hoppy with her left. She didn't know that at that very moment, Marcus was at the front desk, demanding to know if anyone had seen a little girl in a pink backpack. The pediatric safe room was painted in bright colors, with ocean scenes on the walls and a small aquarium bubbling quietly in the corner. But unlike the consultation room, this one had a special lock on the door and no windows to the hallway. Look, Emma, Rachel said brightly, turning on the TV. We have all kinds of movies here, and there's a special dinner menu just for kids. Would you like to pick something to eat? While Emma looked through the menu with Rachel, Sarah's phone buzzed with a message from Detective Morgan, in custody. Background check shows outstanding warrants in Arizona. You won't be going anywhere. Sarah let out a quiet breath of relief. Outside the safe room, she could hear the controlled chaos of the ER continuing as usual. But in here, a brave little girl who had walked 3 miles to save herself was finally beginning to relax, pointing to chicken nuggets on the menu while hugging her new stuffed friend. Dr. Rodriguez appeared in the doorway, giving Sarah a subtle thumbs up. Everything was going to be okay. Tomorrow, Emma would see her mother again, and Marcus would be facing a judge. But for now, Emma was safe, and that was all that mattered. At Memorial Center, Maria Martinez sat up straighter in her hospital bed, her heart racing after the phone call with Emma. Her recovery from surgery had been slow, but hearing her daughter's voice filled her with a new kind of strength. The night nurse, Linda, sat with her, offering quiet support as Maria wiped tears from her eyes. I should have known, Maria whispered, clutching her phone. The way Emma's voice changed whenever I asked about him on the phone, the excuses Marcus made about why they couldn't visit. She looked at Linda with pain in her eyes. I trusted him with my baby. Linda handed her a tissue. This is not your fault, Maria. Abusers are good at hiding who they really are. She checked Maria's vital signs, noting how her blood pressure had risen. Try to stay calm. Emma is safe now, and that's what matters. Meanwhile, Detective Morgan had called Memorial Center to speak with Maria's doctors. Although Maria was scheduled for discharge the next day, they wanted to make sure she was truly strong enough. Dr. Patel, her surgeon, reviewed her charts again. Mrs. Martinez's recovery has been remarkable this past week, Dr. Patel told Detective Morgan. She's been pushing herself hard in physical therapy, determined to get back to her daughter. While I prefer she stay one more day, I understand the circumstances. We can arrange for home health care visits. Back in her room, Maria was telling Linda everything she could remember about Marcus. How they'd met at the coffee shop where she worked part-time. How he'd seemed so understanding about her upcoming surgery, offering to help with Emma. The signs she'd missed because she'd been desperate for support. He knew I'd be vulnerable, Maria said, her voice growing stronger with anger. A single mom with no family nearby, facing major surgery. You probably planned this from the start. Linda watched as Maria pushed herself to sit up straighter, grimacing slightly at the pain from her surgical site. Easy now, Linda cautioned. You'll need your strength tomorrow. I let him into our lives, Maria continued, her hands gripping the blanket. But I won't let him take my daughter away. Never. She looked at the family photo on her bedside table, taken at Emma's last birthday. My sister in Phoenix offered to come help months ago, but I said no. I thought I could handle everything alone. Just then, her phone buzzed with a text from Detective Morgan. Marcus is in custody. Emma is safe in a secure room with hospital staff. She's having dinner and watching cartoons. Would you like to video chat with her? Maria's hands shook as she typed yes, with tears blurring her vision. A few minutes later, her phone screen lit up with Emma's face. Her daughter was sitting in a bright room, holding a stuffed rabbit and looking more relaxed than she had during their earlier call. Mom, look. This is Hoppy, Emma said, holding up the rabbit. And I'm having chicken nuggets. The nurse Sarah says I can have ice cream too. Maria smiled through her tears, noticing how the fear had faded from Emma's eyes. That's wonderful, baby. Is Hoppy taking good care of you? While Emma chatted about her new stuffed friend, Maria noticed a kind-looking nurse in the background, watching over her daughter protectively. It gave her comfort to know Emma wasn't alone. After the video call, Linda helped Maria make some important phone calls, first to her sister Carmen in Phoenix, who immediately booked a flight for the next morning, then to her employer, who assured her that her job was secure and told her to take all the time she needed. Tomorrow, Maria said firmly, looking out her hospital window at the setting sun, everything changes. No more trying to do it all alone. No more trusting the wrong people. She touched the surgical scar on her abdomen gently. Emma was brave enough to ask for help. I can be brave too. Linda smiled, adjusting Maria's pillows. That's right. And you'll have plenty of help. Now try to rest. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. As night fell over the city, two mothers in two different hospitals were finding their strength, one through her daughter's courage, the other through her mother's love. And somewhere in between, a stuffed rabbit named Hoppy was helping a brave little girl dream of better days ahead. Marcus Sullivan's red pickup truck screeched into a parking spot outside County General's emergency room. His face was dark with anger as he stormed toward the entrance, not noticing the two plainclothes officers who were pretending to smoke near the building's corner. Inside, the front desk staff had been warned. Jenny, the receptionist who had called 911 earlier, kept her voice perfectly calm as Marcus approached. Can I help you, sir? I'm looking for Emma Martinez, he said, trying to sound concerned but unable to hide the edge in his voice. I'm her guardian while her mother's in the hospital. The school said she might have come this way. Jenny typed on her computer, appearing to search. I'm sorry, sir, but I don't see any patient by that name in our system. She looked up at him with practiced innocence. Have you tried calling other hospitals? Marcus leaned forward, his hands gripping the desk. Look, I know she's here. Some kids saw her walking this direction. Just tell me where she is. His voice was getting louder, drawing attention from people in the waiting room. Behind the desk, Jenny's finger rested on the panic button, but she didn't need to press it. Detective Morgan was already walking toward them, her badge now visible on her belt. Two uniformed officers had also entered through the main doors, positioning themselves near the exits. Mr. Sullivan. Detective Morgan's voice was professional but firm. I'm Detective Lisa Morgan. We need to talk about Emma. Marcus's face changed instantly. The fake concern vanished, replaced by something harder. His eyes darted around, noticing the officers by the doors. There's nothing to talk about. I'm her legal guardian while Maria's in the hospital. Actually, Lisa said, taking a step closer, we've been in contact with Maria Martinez. She's revoking any temporary guardianship you might have had. She watched his reaction carefully. We also ran your prints from the coffee shop cup on your truck's dashboard. Interesting results came back from Arizona. Marcus's hand twitched toward his pocket. Officer Rodriguez, who had changed from his doctor's scrubs back into his police uniform, immediately moved forward. Hands where we can see them, sir. The waiting room had gone quiet. Other patients watched as Marcus slowly raised his hands, his face now a mask of rage. This is ridiculous. I've done nothing wrong. Where's Emma? I have the right to know where she is. You have the right to remain silent, Detective Morgan said, nodding to Officer Rodriguez to begin the arrest. You have the right to an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. As Officer Rodriguez began handcuffing him, Marcus finally lost his composure. She's my ticket out, he shouted, no longer trying to maintain his act. Her mother's insurance money, the house. It was all supposed to be mine. You can't do this. The officers quickly moved him toward the exit, reading him his rights. Detective Morgan stayed behind, turning to Jenny with a smile. Perfect job keeping him calm. You bought us exactly the time we needed. Jenny let out a shaky breath. I could see why Emma was so scared of him. That look in his eyes. She shuddered slightly. Up in the pediatric safe room, Emma was finishing her ice cream, unaware of the scene that had just played out downstairs. Sarah sat with her, both of them watching a funny cartoon about talking animals. Emma's pink backpack had been repaired by one of the nurses who knew how to sew, and Hoppy the rabbit was tucked safely inside. Detective Morgan's phone buzzed with updates from her team. They had searched Marcus's truck and found disturbing evidence: maps of routes to Mexico, fake passports, and withdrawn cash. He had been planning to kidnap Emma all along, using her as leverage to access Maria's insurance settlement and house. Sometimes the monsters wear friendly masks, Jenny said quietly, watching as Marcus was placed in a police car. But sometimes, Sarah replied from the doorway, having come down to check on things. Brave little girls see through those masks and find the courage to run. She smiled, thinking of Emma upstairs, finally safe and sound. As the police car drove away, the emergency room returned to its normal rhythm. But something had changed. A child's life had been saved not by dramatic surgery or medical procedures, but by her own courage and the caring attention of those who had listened when she asked for help. The next morning dawned bright and clear over County General Hospital. Emma woke up in the pediatric ward where she had spent the night, Hoppy the rabbit still tucked safely in her arms. The night nurse had made her a special bed using 2 armchairs pushed together, and Sarah had stayed well past her shift to make sure Emma felt safe. "Good morning, sunshine," Rachel said, entering the room with a breakfast tray. She had also stayed overnight, taking turns with Sarah to watch over Emma. "Guess what? Your Aunt Carmen's plane just landed. She'll be here soon with your mom." Emma sat up quickly, her eyes bright with excitement. "Really? Mom's coming?" She hugged Hoppy tighter, and the rabbit's floppy ears bounced. "Can I wear my clean clothes now?" The social services team had brought fresh clothes the night before: new jeans, a purple t-shirt with butterflies, and clean socks. While Emma got dressed, Rachel and Sarah prepared for the day ahead. There were forms to fill out, plans to make, and most importantly, a safe future to build. Detective Morgan arrived early, bringing breakfast burritos for the staff and good news. "Marcus is being held without bail," she told Sarah quietly in the hallway. "We found evidence in his apartment that he'd been planning this for months. He has a history of similar schemes in other states." Sarah shook her head, thinking of how close Emma had come to being taken away. "What about Maria? Is she really strong enough to leave her hospital today?" "Dr. Patel cleared her this morning," Lisa replied. "They're setting her up with home health care, and her sister Carmen is taking family leave from her job to stay with them for a few weeks." Inside the room, Emma was sitting at the small table, drawing a picture with her new crayons. This one showed 3 people and a rabbit in front of a house. Her mom, her aunt, and Hoppy. The house had extra strong locks on the door, something Emma had carefully added after her experience. Around 9 o'clock, a flurry of activity in the hallway made Emma look up. Rachel opened the door, and there stood Maria Martinez in a wheelchair, with a tall woman who looked just like her pushing it. "Emma!" Maria cried, opening her arms. Emma ran to her mother, careful not to hug too tight because of the surgery, but holding on as if she'd never let go. "Mom, Mom, you're really here." Tears rolled down both their faces as they held each other. Aunt Carmen wiped her own eyes, then smiled at her niece. "Hey there, brave girl. Ready to come home with us? I hear you have a garden that needs some flowers planted." While the family reunited, Sarah and Rachel met with the social services team in the hallway. A comprehensive safety plan had been developed: new locks for the apartment, security cameras, changed phone numbers, and a direct line to Detective Morgan's office. The school had been notified, and Emma would start counseling next week. "We've also frozen all of Maria's accounts," the social worker explained. "Marcus had been trying to gain access to them, but he failed. The insurance company has been notified about the attempted fraud." Back in the room, Emma was showing her mom and aunt all the drawings she'd made. "And this is Nurse Sarah, and Rachel, and Detective Lisa," she explained, pointing to the figures in her pictures. "They kept me safe." Maria looked up at the hospital staff with tears in her eyes. "How can we ever thank you enough?" "Emma did the hard part," Sarah said gently. "She was brave enough to ask for help. We just listened." As they prepared to leave, Emma carefully packed Hoppy in her mended backpack. Rachel had said she could keep the rabbit, a reminder that she was brave and strong. Detective Morgan provided a police escort for their drive home, where they found the apartment already equipped with new locks and security features. "Remember," Lisa told Emma as they arrived, "you can call us anytime." day or night. Emma nodded, holding her mom's hand with one hand and her aunt's with the other. For the first time in weeks, she felt completely safe. Above them, the morning sun shone brightly, promising a new beginning for a family that had learned the true meaning of courage and love. 3 months had passed since that fateful day at County General Hospital. The autumn leaves were starting to fall as Emma walked hand in hand with her mother toward the emergency room entrance. This time, instead of fear and tears, she carried a bright smile and a handmade thank you card decorated with butterflies and hearts. Maria looked much healthier now. Her surgery site had healed well, and the regular walks she took with Emma and Aunt Carmen had brought color back to her cheeks. Carmen had decided to stay permanently, transferring her job to their city and moving into the apartment next door. "Look, Mom," Emma pointed excitedly. "Nurse Sarah is at the desk." She clutched her backpack, where Hoppy the rabbit still rode along on all her important adventures. Sarah looked up and broke into a wide smile as she recognized them. "Emma, Maria, what a wonderful surprise." She came around the desk to greet them properly. Emma gave her a big hug, no longer the frightened little girl who had shuffled in 3 months ago. "We brought cookies," Emma announced proudly. "Aunt Carmen helped us bake them. They're for everyone who helped me." She pulled out several carefully wrapped packages from her backpack. "And we have good news to share," Maria added, her eyes bright. They followed Sarah to the break room, where they found Rachel and Jenny on their lunch break. More hugs were exchanged as Emma distributed the cookies. "I'm going to be a safety helper at school," Emma announced. Her voice was stronger now, confident. "Miss Thompson picked me to help teach the younger kids about safe places and trusted adults." Sarah felt tears in her eyes as she remembered the trembling little girl who had remembered those same lessons on a scary day 3 months ago. "That's perfect, Emma. You'll be wonderful at that job." Maria shared their other updates. The court case against Marcus was proceeding well, with Detective Morgan building a strong case. He would be facing charges not just for what he'd done to them, but for similar crimes in other states. Maria had also started taking classes at the community college, working toward a business degree. "And look what Emma got yesterday," Maria said proudly, pulling out a certificate from her purse. It was from the mayor's office, a special commendation for bravery. Emma had been invited to speak at local schools about safety awareness. "I tell other kids about Hoppy," Emma explained, pulling out her well-loved rabbit, "and about how it's okay to ask for help when you're scared." Rachel, who had joined them during her break, noticed how Emma no longer flinched at sudden noises. The weekly counseling sessions had helped her process her trauma, turning her experience into a source of strength rather than fear. "We're planting a garden," Emma continued excitedly. "Mom and Aunt Carmen helped me make a special section just for butterflies. And guess what? My story is helping other kids. Last week, a girl at my school told the counselor about a bad situation because she heard my story." Sarah looked around the break room at this little gathering. The brave child who had walked 3 miles to safety, the mother who had found her strength, the aunt who had dropped everything to help, and her fellow hospital staff who had all played a part in this story. "Oh," Emma suddenly remembered something. She pulled out her thank you card and handed it to Sarah. "I made this for everyone. Miss Thompson helped me write it." The card was covered in colorful drawings, with a message written in careful child's handwriting. "Thank you for helping me be brave. Love, Emma, and Hoppy too." As they prepared to leave, Emma gave one final hug to each of her heroes. "Can we come back to visit again?" she asked. "Anytime," Sarah assured her. "But next time, let's make it just for cookies and hugs, okay?" Emma nodded, smiling brightly. She took her mother's hand as they walked out into the autumn sunshine. Behind them, Sarah posted Emma's card on the break room bulletin board, where it would remind everyone that sometimes the biggest acts of courage come in the smallest packages. And in Emma's backpack, Hoppy the rabbit sat among her school books and art supplies, no longer just a stuffed animal, but a symbol of hope and bravery for other children who might need to find their own courage someday.